I rise today to introduce legislation to establish a federal renewable electricity standard. But before I talk about what that will do, let me tell you a little bit about the people it will help. Luna County, New Mexico has double-digit unemployment rate. More than half of its children live in poverty. It was in recession before our current economic crisis, and if nothing changes, it will be in recession long after the rest of the country recovers. When you look at the United States on a map that measures solar thermal energy, Luna County is red hot. Like hundreds of small communities across our country, Luna has immense untapped potential for renewable energy. If Luna can find a way to sell its sunlight, its future will be secure. But Luna has a problem. America's energy markets do not value Luna's sunlight the way we should. These markets ignore three critical things. First, growing demand and stagnant supply means rising prices for fossil fuels. The price of natural gas has more than tripled since 1995, and unless we act, we can expect more prices to spike in the future, spikes that threaten our economy. But it is easier for utilities to buy a little more natural gas than it is to invest in clean technologies. The result is that we are moving forward as if our energy use is sustainable, when we know that it just isn't. In most markets, this would be bad enough, but our energy markets have two other problems. Americans care whether our energy comes from farmers in Iowa or mullahs in Iran. But our markets do not. When we buy solar energy from Luna County, we keep our money in this country, and we make ourselves less dependent on countries like Russia and Iran, countries that have shown their willingness to use our dependence against us. America's energy markets also ignore global climate change. Right now, a clean electron produced by the sun costs just as much as an electron produced by burning carbon. Our markets don't care whether the energy we consume is leading to fewer farms and more forest fires. They don't care whether our grandchildren will be able to live comfortably on this earth. They just don't care, and we are paying the price. Even the most conservative economists will tell you that energy is a classic case of market failure. The energy market ignores our economic security, our national security, and the future of our world. Economists call these things externalities. I call them the basis of our way of life. So what do? I'm proposing that we demand just a little bit more from our utilities. Let's require that they produce 25% of their electricity from renewable sources by 2025. Thanks in large part to Senator Bingaman, the Senate has already passed a similar proposal 3 times. And last year, I was proud to help pass a proposal like this in the other body. Renewable electricity standards have succeeded at the state level. In fact, more than 28 states have renewable standards, including my state of New Mexico. But a national RES has never become the law of the land. It's time for Congress to make it so. There are many reasons to support this plan. To start, it's good for consumers. Scientists looking at 20% standard concluded that it could save utility customers $31.8 billion. A 25% standard would save even more. A renewable energy standard would also strengthen rural communities and provide new income for farmers and ranchers. And this plan will make America safer. The billions of dollars it will generate are dollars that cannot be used to hold our foreign policy hostage. But most importantly, a national renewable standard will create hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs, jobs that cannot be outsourced. Study after study shows that shifting capital to renewable energy increases job creation. And not only will this plan stimulate job creation today, it will put us on a path towards dominance in the industries of the future. Now, some of my colleagues will probably say that a renewable standard makes sense for sunny New Mexico, but it won't work for their states. I urge them to take another look at their states. Scientists predict that Florida could one day meet 1/3 of its energy needs by tapping the power of the Gulf Stream. Louisiana has wind energy potential offshore, and New Orleans has already begun to rebuild its economy by creating jobs developing solar energy. Alaska has wind energy produced all over its coasts and geothermal potential in the south. The state of Tennessee just concluded its existing investment in renewables could yield 4,500 jobs. An additional investment could yield 45,000. Everywhere you look, America has untapped renewable energy potential. But just for the sake of argument, let's say, for example, that Louisiana might have to import some energy from Florida under a national renewable standard. Well, Louisiana already imports a big chunk of its energy. And as consumption rises, more and more of Louisiana's energy comes from imports. Today, those imports come largely from natural gas, and 43% of the world's natural gas is under Russia and Iran. So Louisiana is bidding up the price of a commodity that is largely controlled by countries that don't like us. Now, I would rather buy hydropower from Florida than fossil fuels from Iran. Of course, some people say they support a renewable standard, but not yet. They say America cannot afford to reduce our contribution to climate change because the growth of China and India will drown out the impact of our emissions reductions. This concern is very real, but it represents a failure of our moral imagination. If we are to have a future as a country and as a global community, we cannot see the world's aspiring middle class as potential threats. We have to see them as potential customers, and we should be racing to develop the technologies they will need. Waiting for China to address its emissions problem before we address ours is like waiting for an opponent to finish the race before we start to lace up. Right now, the world is engaged in a high-stakes competition. America just doesn't always admit it. As the world's citizens see the impact of climate change, we are demanding energy supplies that don't endanger our collective future. That means soon, clean energy won't be an alternative, it will be the standard. When that happens, whichever country dominates the clean energy industry, we will be able to create jobs on a grand scale. Don't take my word for it. The CEO of GE Energy has just testified before the Congress that wind and solar energy are likely to be among the largest sources of new manufacturing jobs worldwide during the 21st century. So just think about what he said here. Wind and solar are likely to be among the largest sources of new manufacturing jobs. You know, we hear a lot of discussion on this floor about new manufacturing jobs and us losing manufacturing jobs. Well, this is where the new manufacturing jobs are going to be. A growing chorus of economists and business leaders agree with what this GE Energy CEO has said. America cannot afford to let another country become the world's clean energy leader. But right now, we are falling behind. Countries that have done much more to shape their energy markets have already created thriving green energy industries. With a population roughly 1/4 as large as America's, Germany has more than twice as many workers developing wind energy technologies. Spain has almost 5 times as many workers in the solar thermal industry as America. China has more than 300 times as many. America's not falling behind because our scientists are not smart enough. Some of the big ideas now powering the economies of Europe originated right here. From 1970 to 1996, Los Alamos National Lab developed a technique for cleanly and efficiently using the Earth's heat to generate electricity. Estimates indicated that the technique could eventually power the Earth for hundreds of years, but without market incentives to encourage continued development, progress stagnated. Germany took that technology and brought it to the market in just 3 years. They now have 150 geothermal plants nearing completion. Think of the jobs that will create. Those could be our jobs. Those should be our jobs. A renewable electricity standard would let America catch up and take the lead. We still have the world's most productive workers. We still have the most creative entrepreneurs, and our culture encourages individual initiative to solve tough problems. But if we want to win, we have to act now. The American people are ready with this. I drove to every county in New Mexico during the campaign, and everywhere I went, I saw innovation. I saw wind turbines going up in Little Texas. I saw the spot in Deming, New Mexico, where the world's largest solar plant will sit. And at Mesa Lands Community College in Tucumcari, New Mexico, I saw a classroom in a wind turbine hundreds of feet over the desert. Even Luna County is starting to develop its resources. They just need help. Mr. President, the federal government is late to the party. We should be leading the clean energy revolution. Mr. President, it is time for us to lead.